I'm Nikki, and this is 6460, the show where I tell you 6 things that I love about Star Trek in honor of the 60th anniversary of the franchise. Welcome to episode 32. Crazy 32. And tonight I'd like to talk to you for a hot second about Enterprise, the TV show, not the ship. So I'm going to be completely honest. I try to be honest, with you folks every week and tell you that I absolutely did not like Enterprise when it first came out. So if you have been watching previous episodes, you're probably thinking, well, my God, woman, what did you like when it first came out? TOS. I enjoyed TOS when it first came out. I'm a crudmudgeon deep in my heart, and it takes me a minute to adjust to new things. Um, so, uh, but I'm just wanted to, lay that out from the beginning. So I understand when people have issues with the new shows. I really do. What I would ask though is that as I have matured in my Star Trek watching, I hope that others can mature as well and kind of get over some of their initial angst, pain, disappointment, whatever it is that keeps them from loving new and different Trek. So, I think we all kind of have that, our very first love, whether it's TOS or TNG, whatever the first Trek that you loved. Sometimes it's hard for us to love the new versions of it. But I think if we just take a deep breath, there are some wonderfully redeeming qualities about all of the Star Trek that we have. So, um, kind of went off in a different direction there, but let's just jump right into it. So, number one, we get prehistory. So, I know it's a hard pill to swallow for some. TOS was the first and it should always be the first. But I kind of like the idea of getting some of that um, prehistory. So for me, what excited me about it after I got over my initial issues is that there was no prime directive. There were no standards for landing parties or away missions. So they're just out there. They're just, raw dog in the universe. It's great because everything is fresh and it's, new. We got to see kind of background on some of the technology and things that we come to love about our current Star Trek. Um, in season 4, episode 10, called Daedalus, they introduced us to the inventor of the transporter. That was really wonderful. So I loved how they introduced us to things that we were familiar with, and then they kind of gave us, the background, some more lore around it. So I thought that was wonderful. But that also kind of had a downside, which is one of the main reasons why I really didn't enjoy Enterprise when it first came out. So a minor little thing was the introduction of the Ferengi. Um, we didn't really talk about Ferengi till TNG. So why were they there in Enterprise? I felt that was an unnecessary thing to do. There was talk of subspace corridors. Okay, again, um, we know that they existed. We know that other civilizations use them, but Enterprise went through subspace corridor with instructions on how to access it and get through one. So I don't understand how we lost all of that knowledge. From TOS to TNG to even DS9, nobody's going through subspace corridors. So I'm not sure why they really, I mean, it was a plot device, but I think it was kind of a silly one that, we did it in Enterprise and then didn't do it anymore. Unless I've missed something in the stories, if they managed to explain how we no longer had access to that technology, please correct me, educate me in the comments, let me know what I missed. But my biggest downfall, or downside to this prehistory, and it's probably a minor thing, but it really blew my mind, is when they have view screens. How do we have view screens with Enterprise when in TOS season 1, episode 14, Balance of Terror, fabulous episode, where it was established we fought a whole war with the Romulans and we didn't know what they looked like because we didn't have view screens. So how 100 years before Kirk, this is our first venture out into space, how do we have view screens? That just really really ticked me off. Um, so there you are, um, for prehistory, good and bad. Number 2, emotional Vulcans. Um, and I'm not exactly sure why I took such, um, why I had such anger towards the emotional Vulcans in Enterprise. Because the more I go back and watch other shows, I realize, man, the Vulcans, first of all, are some petty people. Oh my goodness. Just absolutely petty, um, in how they express their cultural and intellectual superiority over others. And so maybe they don't count being petty as having emotions. But wow, the Vulcans were really emotional in Enterprise and also in Discovery, very much so. But that's just my take on it. Agree, disagree. Let me know in the comments. 3, what I really liked about Enterprise are the MACOs, the Military Assault Command Operations. So again, I thought it made absolute perfect sense. Oh, and they trained at gracious, and now the name just fell right out of my head. At West Point, sorry. Yeah. So in one of the episodes, they mentioned that they trained at West Point to be Mako. So shout out to all our West Point graduates. Had family member graduate from West Point. Was beautiful human being. So yay, West Point. But anyway, so the Makos. Um, I thought it was great, because Enterprise was designed as a ship of exploration. It's a science vessel, it's a diplomatic vessel. They want to go out and meet people. So while there is some sense of, we need security or whatever, and if you remember from the early episodes, Archer turned down weapons. He's like, we're going out to make friends. We don't need weapons. You don't take a stick to the cookout. So, but after a while, they realize, oh, like the Vulcan said, the universe is not friendly. So now we do need a way to protect ourselves. But yet, there was still that desire for balance between having security and still being a ship of exploration, and not wanting to lose that delicate balance, and also a little bit of territorialness. And we see this in season 3, episode 15, Harbinger, with Malcolm and Hayes, where they just get into a knockdown, drag out fight. And I will say, so Malcolm is like their chief of the armory and security, and Hayes is the leader of the Makos who have been added to the crew complement. And they just really just have a knockdown, drag out fight. It's personal and not personal. It really was a fight for supremacy on that ship, not just in who's going to provide security and go on all the dangerous missions, but also really what the chain of command is going to look like later on. So at one point, and I'll try and find the episode, um, the captain is incapacitated, Archer is incapacitated, and T'Pol is also incapacitated. She's actually in the brig. And It's like, well, now who's gonna take over? Who's next in line? Who's doing things? And we have that lovely battle. But I enjoyed the different aspect that the Makos brought to the ship, and also helping to kind of shape what they were gonna what the Federation, even though we haven't mentioned the Federation yet, is going to look like moving forward. And number 4, cultural transitions. Again, I think that's really where they should have focused more, um, because that's a huge aspect of how we got to where we were going with the Federation. So we got a brief look into civilian space travel. There's some talk of like the interstellar freighters and all. We see some of this when Travis Mayweather goes back to his home ship because he grew up on one of those, not shuttles, but transports. They're out hauling materials, whatever, from system to system. And we see this in season 1, episode 10, Fortunate Son. So we get to hear some of the conversations, how the folks who were still working on those ships are angry because the young folks no longer want to do this really slow interstellar travel. They want to go sign up and go out and explore. They want to be on the fast ships. They want all the new technology and to go meet the cool aliens. They want to go do the new and shiny things. And so there's that talk about how, kind of the average people are dealing with this new technology and this ability to travel further and faster than we ever have before. We also see the negative side of that in the xenophobia that's happening on Earth. Now, some of that I'm sure was there before, but it really happens after the Zindi attack, where they kill 7 million people on Earth, and we really see this come to fruition in season 4, episode 3, Home, where Phlox is attacked in a bar. And of course, the crew, they're trying to defend him. They're boasting, they're the heroes. They've stopped the war, but it's still not enough. People are still upset. And I think they really could have gone further into that, because I am, and there's a lot more with the moon base taking off, and folks are just like, hey, there are a lot more episodes that focus on that. People just saying, we as earthlings need to stay on earth, and we don't need to go out and worry about the rest of the universe. We see the damage that's already happened with one little trip. um Even though that the Enterprise going out isn't directly connected to the Zindi attack, that was already working. But the point is that everybody on earth is not happy about this new exploration. So I appreciate that they gave us that view into it. Number 5 on my list are the Zindi themselves. I thought they were a wonderfully creative alien race, in the fact that we get multiple advanced species on one planet. So they're all related, but it's not, they don't all look alike. Um, we've got reptilians, we've got aquatics, um, insectoids. It's just all different kind. I think it's 5 left. I think there was a 6th version who flew, who had wings, but in their infighting, they completely wiped them out. So I really appreciated that view. We always talk about how Star Trek worked as a mirror to help us look at ourselves. And so definitely there with the Zindi is like, we might all look different on the outside, but we're still all Zindi. And, if we're not careful, we're going to end up, killing ourselves, fighting each other. But yay, Star Trek for good lessons. But I really appreciated the Zindi, because we didn't see anything really like this before all of your aliens were really kind of homogeneous, homogenous in that they looked the same, they wore the same clothing, the same color. It was really kind of uh, basic in how the aliens were presented for the most part. So I really, really appreciated the Zindi as a really creative alien species from a lot of different viewpoints. So, yay. Okay, and here we go. You knew it was coming. Number 6, the theme song. It's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally near. And I can feel the change in the wind right now. Nothing's in my way. And they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they're not gonna hold me down. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart. And that's it. That's all I'm singing. Oh, please don't unsubscribe. Okay, so that was just a little bit, a little bit of the theme song. I had to sing it. And people lost their minds over this song. I don't get it. I don't understand why. Because the TOS theme had lyrics. Now we know, and you go back and watch a couple of episodes towards the beginning of the year, we talked about that. They added the lyrics so they could get money um, off of it, and they just chose not to use the lyrics in the theme, but there were words to go along with the music. So I'm not sure why people felt that was a great sin against Star Trek to have a theme song um, with lyrics. But there it is. Those are my 6 for this week. I enjoyed Enterprise. I really, after I got over my issues, I really did enjoy it. Season 3, really reminds me of like the Year of Hell with Voyager. Um, they had just some really great stories. Um, I think you should give it a shot, give it a watch if you have not watched it. If you have not watched it in a while, I suggest rewatch. Of course, you get the classic episodes, we went back in time. That's I did not talk about the temporal wars. I'm going to do an episode on the time travel. We'll get to that. Um and I enjoyed Enterprise. And the one thing I didn't add, because I was trying to be positive and not just do a lot of negatives, the ending, the series finale. We're not even going to talk about it because that was just disgusting. It was horribly done. I don't think it did justice to the show. Um, it just made me very sad. It was not a good ending. Not at all. I don't know why they chose um to do it. And if we were going to get another movie, animated, I'm all for animation if that's the only way we can get things done. I would love an animated Enterprise movie. I think that would I'd love to see like the eugenics wars and a good Enterprise animated movie to kind of fill in some of the gaps. Let's use some real Star Trek writers. I would appreciate that from some of the books because great writers out there. Um, but anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me, dear friends. Live long and prosper.